This tiny little hoof belongs to a miniature horse. Of course, I always start the trim by cleaning the hoof. It really gives me a lot of exploratory time to start checking things out. Right now I'm just looking for bruising, disease, and get a good overall feeling for the hoof. Every trim on every foot is always a conversation, and one is never the same as another, even if it's on the same horse. You can see here that I'm starting this trim at the heels. These heels on this horse are really long. And if you watch a lot of my videos, you'll know that I usually start the trim on the frog, which I'm doing now. And that frog is so big and plump, and I know I'm going to be cutting it away. I actually use my nippers as opposed to my hoof knife. But what I'm trying to do on this little guy is get those heels back to the widest part of that frog. The frog is that mental V-shaped thing, and you really can see how clean it is. That thing's just big and fat and plump and disease-free, which might get you a little bit. You're going to notice me trimming the heels of this horse more so than the toe. You can see as I am on that back there and I'm right by that frog that there's still quite a bit of distance, so it's pretty high. So you'll notice that I take very little of the toe and I take more of those heels. Right there at the back of the frog that I'm trimming right now, well, I was trimming until that sneaky little guy took it back. But you can see that heel is very high compared to the frog. And one of my goals is to make sure that that frog is about the height of those hills, so when it puts its foot down, the ground, the hills, and everything takes some pressure. I really like good ground contact with the frog because that thing works as nearly a dirt pump, I'll call it. So it helps expand the hills and gets rid of debris that's caught in the hoof. But I will say it does aid in removing blood from the horse's hoof, but it is not a blood pump. No matter what you've heard, it is not a blood pump. It does aid and assist though. But you can see that's really good looking. I know there's always debates on whether to trim the frog or not, but what I can tell you is I'm being very careful, and this thing is so big and plump that if I didn't, it would just be like some bulge on the bottom of the hoof. And for the frog purist on the planet, that is a very sharp, flat knife. It is not curved, so it really allows me to keep more frog and not put a curved edge into it. Now that I've cleaned that up, I'm going to get back at those heels. You can see how I even took more heel down. And I am using one hand on my nippers and not two hands, really because I'm trying to just simply pin that hoof so I can get a good look at it and so I can shoot this video honestly and keep it very steady and still so I can do the work one-handed. It's a little bit slower, which you can see this mini's been a little bit impatient. The miniature horse doesn't see the importance of this video, so they're not always compliant for me. I was working on just getting that hoof kind of flattened out. You can see it looks like I still need to do a little bit of work on that inside heel. And of course, I'm forever with this knife. Certainly overdoing it, tightening it up. But you can see on that inside heel, still kind of long. So I'm going to take my rasp to that. Make sure those heels are good and balanced. And now I'll run it forward and start working on those edges to round them up and do what some people refer to as the Mustang roll.